Podcast. We are back. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. I got my co-host Zim Hude. Zim, say what's up.
What's up, people? Hello, world.
It's crazy, man. We got to talk about Corona. Got to talk about Corona. It's a trending topic right now. But starting it off, I was actually just telling them as we were talking beforehand how crazy it was. And last night I was actually on another tip watching the NBA. What's up, Diddy? And I was talking about how much of a spectacle it was when you're watching a game and then it comes through and the NBA says that the season is postponed. And I was telling him that it was crazy because they had another game scheduled after. I think it was like New Orleans Pelicans. I can't remember the other team right now, but it ended up being a team or a referee that actually ref the game that Rudy Gobert, who got diagnosed with the coronavirus or whatever, they had held him back there, and then it was just crazy to just see that, and it was like fans all in like the stands, ready for the game to start, and then they were just like, the game is canceled. So like this whole Corona thing is just crazy. Somebody says they were about to go to Disney, and it just got canceled. Damn.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, this thing is hit. Like, I've been stressing to people like over the last month too. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not one of them out there extremists or anything like that. My just to give you guys like a background, my sister works at a very prominent lab called NIH, which is all around the country. My wife is a scientist and heads her own lab as well. So like they've been telling me since 2019 that like this is a thing. Um, but moving forward, I just started watching the patterns of like, especially like Italy. And when I started seeing them saying like, all right, nobody is going to be at their games, like that was like almost 2 months ago that they were thinking that. Because you got to think 3 weeks ago is when they really started like really pushing like no people in the stands, like at like on a lower level, like even like what's equivalent to their high school and stuff like that. And then it got to the pro levels, which reached our national media. But at that time, then I said we're no different than them. So why America has this idea that we're going to be able to escape this, and it's just like we're going to be corona free. And I'm just like, man, but like I mean, things change very fast. I mean, last week I knew that this could happen. I kept on saying the NBA, like, man, when LeBron shrugged it off, I said, nah, that's real. Like, you're not going to have no fans in the stands. I knew that. But then they canceled it so fast. I mean, just me going to the grocery store earlier today, like, I mean, I bought like probably like just, and people were looking at me like I was a little crazy. Well, I bought like, me and my wife probably bought like $600 worth of groceries because I'm thinking like, okay, I'm not preparing for an apocalyptic thing, but I'm preparing currently right now when I go to the grocery store and everything's very limited, and then America's about to go on a 2-week quarantine because they're already saying go a 3 to 4 day quarantine. I live in Washington D.C. All the schools are closed, so you can't really do nothing. Like you can't go nowhere, and Ohio schools are closed. And that's crazy. They're saying a lot of people have it in Ohio, which is crazy too. There are people 5 minutes from here that have corona. Like, I mean, we're all walking around with hand sanitizer, and it's crazy to me. I don't even want to compare it to that. I was about to make a bad comparison, but it reminds me of people that don't listen to a lot of things that we say, and it's still a bunch of idiots out there in this world that are still saying this is a joke and it's just a hoax and the government wants to do that. Like, let me tell you about corporations. Corporations run America. When they're willing to let millions of dollars to just walk right out the door,
Right.
when you know you got a really big problem. Now, do I think that this thing will get solved? Yes, I do. But the aftermath of this thing is going to change the world. And I think that's why me and Ace are just having it right now. It's just because it's like, like sports is kind of taking a backseat a little bit, and that's why I think we're just having this live now just to talk. We ain't talked to you guys in a while, but from my standpoint, I'm not scared. Like God isn't going to give me, and I'm not telling everybody to be scared, but you better prepare yourself and stop taking everything light. Stop thinking everything is a joke or a hope. Like March Madness is $1 billion thing, and they flat out canceled it. So
Straight up canceled.
like you got to get real, and then you can show me all the stats in the world about like the traditional, what you're calling the traditional flu. Like it kills way more people. Yeah, currently, March 12th, 2020. Yeah, it does. But people don't know the origin. They don't know the whereabouts of the coronavirus, like in full. We only have theories.
Right.
So that's the part that's like, like, so right now in this 2 week period, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of cleaning, quarantine, like just making sure stuff is straight. They aren't looking for a cure right now. Like that's one thing that I think is gone beyond. Like like I said, this has been going on since 2019. That's not what they're doing. Everybody's getting their action plans together. They're cleaning up the building, cleaning up different places where Corona victim was, and different things like that. Getting the plan in order and figuring out what's the course of action. But the people that say this is silly, like you've lost your mind. Can you imagine if we did nothing and people died? If one person dies and you knew you had a chance to save them, we're talking about thousands.
Right. Nah, that's real. I mean, just knowing the fact that it's going to affect the older population, but not just the 55 and older, also the people with weak immune systems is just really startling and very scary. And it's just crazy how, we just went through flu season and that like went crazy and like touched so many people. And I think it definitely hit me. Zim, you just bounced back from it. Like it was taking over everywhere. I had a coworker, guys, die from getting the flu. Like a brand new coworker about a month ago. Like I met the dude, we went out to lunch. Dude was cool. Like he had just moved up from Miami. I think he was 41. We were actually talking and having a good conversation because I had just came back from Miami from taking my wife down there for her birthday. So we were vibing and talking about that, and we also had some other things in common, like trying to eat better and stuff like that. And at the time, I was getting ready to go on this whole like cutting out sugar thing, and he was telling me how he was on the keto diet. And so, like, long story short, we vibed and everything. Dude was cool. Like, it was even to the point where about a week later, I saw him again, and he came upstairs because he worked downstairs, and he had to go to the restroom, and he had his computer, and he was like, "Hey, man, can I just leave my computer here with you? Because you're like the only person I know up here." And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And a week after that, now mind you, this was a position that they were waiting to fill for like 4 or 5 months, and so he actually worked with me and my team between departments. And so we're in the meeting, and I'm like, "Where is dude at?" And they're like, "Oh, he got, really sick, and he had the flu." And so I'm like, "Okay, that sounds pretty crazy." And then apparently he had come back to work, I think the following week, and they said that people saw him, and he was just really out of it, and he just disappeared again. So then another week goes by, and they're like, "Yeah, the flu turned into pneumonia, and he's in really bad shape." The next thing I know, it was like a day or two later, he had a pulmonary embolism, what they described as like a mini stroke. And this is just from the flu. And then after that, it was around Veterans Day, and it was crazy because we all started signing a card for him, and it was like, oh, he's starting to get better. And then it was Veterans Day, so we were off, and when we came back on Tuesday, they were like, he died, and it's just like, wow. So it's like when you have something like this that nobody nobody is prepared for it. Ended up coming out that he had, I think, like a heart condition. So in my head, it was like, well, maybe that's why he was on the keto diet in the first place. But this isn't gonna just hit people that are 55 and older. If you have a weak immune system, or if you have any heart problems or stuff like that, like it can really touch those people as well. So like Zim is saying, like there's some things that are bigger than sports, and I saw some people complaining, and it sucks, right? You got the NBA going on, you got the XFL, you got all of these things going on, but it puts things in perspective. Why expose that many people that go to sporting events? We've all been to sporting events. You know how many people are at sporting events. Why expose that many people to a potential virus that could kill loved ones, that could kill parents, grandparents? To me, we just have to do the responsible thing. And that's why I personally thought about it, and I was gonna go to the draft. Zim was gonna do the same, but I just canceled my trip, man. I canceled my trip because my dad is in his 70s. My dad was gonna come down because you guys know that have followed my channel. I moved to Orlando about 3 years ago, and like we don't really have much family here, so in order for us to move around and do stuff, my dad comes down, and that's like his granddad time to kick it with the kids. The last thing that I want to do is go to an NFL draft, them have us in a separate location where we can't even interact with the players or enjoy the experience, and then come back with the coronavirus and take my dad out. Like I don't want to be the reason that my dad leaves this world. So for me, it's just like you just got to be more smart about it, and you got to take these things serious. And I think that we're not gonna just be able to stop the spread of this virus, but just doing our part on what we can to reduce how many victims that there will be is the best thing to do. And if you feel sick or whatever, just take yourself to the doctor and get checked out because there's people, believe it or not, that are probably walking around with this thing that don't even know that they have it. They could have been walking around with it a month ago.
Yeah.
We don't even know.
That's the scary thing about it is like a lot of people are saying like I don't know if you guys have been looking at like different people that have said that they survived the corona virus. It's like a virus can lay dormant in your body for like a very long time, and the people that matter, the scientists that matter, don't know that much stuff about it. So these people that thinking that they beat it and stuff like that, you don't know like a month from now, like wake up and just get the chills and you know what I'm saying? You don't know what's going on. So
Right.
like I used to work at a place that was kind of like a kind of like what we call like in a war room or whatever, where it's all about preventative action. So I guess that's part of my background too. Is like at the end of the day, if I'm the CEO of a company, or if I'm anything involved with a business or anything like that, then I've got to take every measure to cover my own end, even if I don't legit like care for people's lives, like I gotta make sure I'm covering my own. So everybody's got to cover their own end. I saw somebody say something. Oh, this is a election year. That's cool, but this I don't think thousands of people have to die just to scare people. Like they could, if it was election year or something like that, they could just make up another fake anthrax and everybody to make up their check your mail and da da da. Like, nah, we got real bodies and real people and real hospitals full and people dying. That's not a scare tactic. like,
Right.
like, look, like that is not a scare tactic. There are whole entire communities dead in China, like whole communities. Now, like I told you earlier, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but one of my friends who went to China probably like last year, he was saying like, dude, it's so uncomfortable for me to go to some of these markets. They're so full, they're so packed. I don't know if you guys know this too. If you have more than one child in a lot of parts of Asia, they'll try to kill your child. They don't want the population is just insane. Um, yeah, somebody said China don't care about our election. Yeah, China don't care. This is another thing. There are a lot of people that it's just like it kind of reminds me of somebody that lives in like a real small, a real like let's say you live in a small town, North Dakota or something like that. You're banking on the people that are around you to give you information, and a lot of times these people use home remedies. The thing that I found out about a lot of people that are in Asia, whatever, in movies they kind of make it like silly and they'll say like, oh, triads and all these other things. Like these things really do exist, but there are thousands of people that won't go get help. So imagine thousands of people in your community telling you, oh yeah, we got ginger, we got all these different things that we're going to mix up and it's going to get rid of it, and this is ancient, this is part of our culture and this is how we're going to fix it. And people are dying and they're still not going to the hospital. So that's how I can kill a whole community and nobody got treated for it. And then that same community member is going out to a market doing all these different things. I do think on the plus side, you won't see a lot of those things like here in America. But the negative is that the hospitals are going to be super, super full. The grocery stores are going to be super, super empty. Like all of these different, it's a big domino effect. and it's just there is no good way that I could see this ending. I do see like in the near future though, us being able to go back out and do different things. I don't know what corrective measures that people will have to go do these things. I know when I go to see my sister, who I mentioned works in NIH and stuff, they send people through like a tunnel. You got to wash your shoes off. They spray you with this whole thing. You go through and it gets you straight and clear before you go in. Now, because this disease is airborne, I don't think that would do much in a concert or a festival setting. Somebody correct me if we're wrong. But as somebody you can clean and sanitize, I don't know if you ever seen a little thermometer thing that they put on there to look at the temperature and everything like that. They could weed those people out, get everybody in there with a normal 98.6 temperature and walk them through, clean, sanitize everything. But then the moment somebody comes in there and has like aren't showing the symptoms and it coughs in the whole environment, it sneezes in the whole environment, everybody will get infected the same way. And I just don't see any way like around that part of it too. So I'm not a scientist, so these are just my thoughts. But I think this is very, very relevant because we're all sitting here now. We don't have any March Madness. I got a group chat with like 10 of my best friends from when I was young, and we were just texting each other earlier today. It's like, man, can you believe like we're not gonna have this is our thing. Like every year, this is how we connect. We put up like $100 in the pot, and then we're all like talking trash, and this is like a big part of my life. I mean, that's small, but you know what I'm saying? Like everybody's got their own thing that they tie to sports and things like that. I was really looking forward to the NBA playoffs, like more than ever for real.
I really was like it was a really good year for me because being a Lakers fan, even though we got countless rings, I'm not gonna try to act like we went through anything like we experienced through the Bengals, but it's been a while, man, since we've been like really relevant and been a threat to go for this ring recently, and with Kobe passing away and everything, it just felt like things were circling around it being a possibility that we could hoist up that trophy, especially when you talk about the Clippers game we just came off of, and then getting Dion Waiters, and now it's like that's just been kind of snatched away. And just the NBA in general, to me, like I know that this is a football channel, and I know that you guys love the NFL and everything, but for me, the NBA has been great this year just because with the Golden State Warriors breaking up, it just has kind of opened up everything and made it just more even.
How about Ja Morant is my favorite player to watch right
Ja
now? Like,
Morant, yeah,
I love just watching any Memphis game. I have my friend's NBA pass thing. That's my
right.
player to watch. He reminds me of all my favorite players when I was young. Like
I'm gonna say something very controversial right now. I think in I think right now when you look at it, so just so you guys see where I'm coming from, because I've gotten into it with friends about this, what I'm about to say. When you look at where the NBA is, it seems like they're trending up. Like Zim's talking about, you got guys like John Morant, you got your Zion Williamsons, you got your Trey Youngs, your Luka Doncic's, you got all of these new young ambassadors for the NBA, and it's just their incorporation of bringing international players in and just
if
having
you
this
can see their
young.
face, though, I'm not trying to cut you off, but you can see their face. NFL has a big problem because they just wear helmets. That's the number one thing. But go ahead.
Right.
It's
But
harder to market somebody with a helmet on their head.
no, that's true. But what I think is their presence is growing. You got a lot of more kids playing basketball now because it's an easy sport that you can easily play in your driveway. You got the scare of concussions that are coming in from football. And when you look at the way that these two leagues handle themselves, if the NFL has somebody like Adam Silver, like so many of their problems that they have right now would be fixed. Like when you look at the NBA, everything that they do is progressive. Like the All Star game was broken, they fixed it. They've done all of these things to fix
Contracts.
any yeah, contracts,
They're
instant
all the
replay,
money's guaranteed.
all of that stuff. Like they're doing things right, and it's like it's somewhat of a players league. I do see that, but I think that the players and owners work together, and you don't have that much drama over there. And I think the way the trajectory that it's on, I think in 10 years, especially with it being a global sport kind of now, that they could prove to be a legitimate threat against the NFL. If the NFL doesn't get their act together and start doing things like the XFL is uh, the best example of what the NFL should be doing. When you talk about the instant replays that they do there, when you talk about, the kickoffs, the extra points, NFL, it's almost like they're their own worst enemy. It's like we're the best, nobody can mess with us. We don't have to change anything. But them not adjusting to the future and planning for the future, I think is really hurting their brand in terms of now when we have these football games, right? We're always talking about what play calls or what plays should have been ruled this and should have been called pass interference. Like that shouldn't be an issue in 2020. Like we have GPS technology and all of this technology. There's enough technology for us to know whether or not someone crossed the plane. Why are we still watching the same replay 10 times when there's technology when you go to Top Golf that can show you exactly where your damn golf ball just landed on a course because it has a GPS on it. And you got GPSs on players, but you won't put it on your actual football. For me, I just think that the NFL just needs to do things to make the game better. They're the number one brand right now, but if they want to stay on top, they're going to have to implement some of those things that the NBA is doing. And I'm not saying that
The
I
NFL, the players don't stick together for one, and then they just took like they're taking like the stupidest deal ever. But I'm not gonna cut you off, but
mm,
it's a vicious cycle that the owners have like set up for them, and this is the biggest problem that they have. The life of an NFL player is so short, like 2 to 3 years, that when they get into these bargaining agreements that they're currently having right now, all the owners have to do is throw out something like $100,000, right? So only the top tier guys that are at the top of it are the ones that saying like you see Joe Mixon and them saying like, man, what the hell is going on?
right,
Like millionaires that are guaranteed and they have a longer shelf life. The average NFL player is saying, yeah, I'll sign off on it because I know I'm only gonna be playing like a year or two. NBA players won't ever have that same problem. And I just want to interject with it's
nah, I get what you're
from a
saying, but
player
it's like,
standpoint, it's just tough. It's tough because it's
right.
hard to get everybody on the same page. I
But these
got it,
guys, these guys deserve more guaranteed like contracts than they're getting, man.
but
Because
if they can't get together and they can't agree, then they'll always be in the same predicament at the end. And
I agree with you. I agree with you. They definitely need
they will
to.
have to hold out. Like right now, that shit, that CBA that they're about to sign, they will have to hold out, but they're not willing to do that.
Yeah, and that's where it really what it really boils down to, and pro sports in general is the athletes, in my opinion, sometimes don't realize the power that they have, right? Like even in terms of the NBA as well, right? Because I think back to like the lockout, and it's like if you had someone, let's just use the NFL for example, because I was gonna say if you had LeBron James say that I'm not gonna play in the NBA and I'm gonna go start this other league, people will watch that. Like I don't care. Like if Pat Mahomes was like me and Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz or something like that, or the top, some of the top players were just like we're not gonna play and we're gonna go play in the XFL, people will watch that, and they just don't realize the power that they have, and it really takes people to step out of just being selfish individuals, and not trying to say it's anyone selfish because those guys have to take care of their families. It's more than just themselves that they're taking care of.
But this is what
when
I'm
i
saying.
say when I say that, I mean, just so I can clear that up, I mean them thinking of the entire NFL and their other players and teammates instead of just thinking of, all right, let me just take this deal because I just need it, because they have a lot of leverage here and they're not using it to their full capability. Now I think we've seen a lot of that now with the new CBA coming, like you said, with Joe Mixon and Russell Wilson and guys kind of speaking up. But I think that these guys need to realize, and if you see what's
You're
going
targeting the wrong people though. That's not the people that's the problem. The people that's the problem that all right, because in an NBA roster, I don't know how many people on an NBA roster, like 14, 15. people or something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's not that many. Right.
Right? All right. So think about an NFL roster. What is it? 53, right?
Yep. 53.
Out of the 53, there's 30 something dudes on there that don't care about what you're talking about. Like they're the guy that's going to be fringe NFL guy maybe 2-3 years. That's
Right.
the guy that's signing off on the CBA. Pat Mahomes and Mixon and all them, they will hold out. Them dudes will hold out because they know their worth, and they'll hold out and they'll say, "Cool, I know I can make millions, and I'm gonna make the NFL do what I want them to do." That's not the guy that's messing this thing up. The Mixons
That's
and
right.
the Rodgers of the world and all these people like that, those are the guys that would hang on and fight for the rights because they know their worth. The average, the guys that I know that I went to school with that actually came close to the NFL, they signing off on that because they're getting, even if they're on a practice squad and they get in 300,000 for the whole year, and they come with a CBA and like the current CBA is saying they're getting an extra $100,000, and you know you might not even be in the NFL next year, you say, hell yeah, I'm signing that. That's the
Right.
guy problem. It's not the big dogs.
Right, but I mean, even when you look at the big dogs, though, right? Like the big dogs, with them not having like, it's cats that play 2 years out of a 6 year contract, and by year three they can be cut. Like they gotta get some kind of, like, to me, you still gotta give those guys some kind of accommodation there. And I think when you play in a sport
The
where you
NFL has made it. They made it so that they don't have to. The rookie contracts force older guys. What we're calling older, when a guy's 26, 28, and we're saying that guy's old, they're forcing them out the league because all the NFL owners or whatever are now picking up contracts where guys are getting 4 year deals that are super, super low until a young dude come out of college getting $1-2 million a year is sweet. And all the 26, 27, like the guys that we're looking at, like Trey Waynes and all these free agent guys, they should not be making $2 million. Like they've earned their keep, they've played out their 4 year deal, but the NFL owners have figured out a way to force them all out in a systematic process. And now it's just a trickle down effect. That's why a lot of times we see these guys getting signed for like dirt cheap, and we're like, why the hell are they getting that? Because there's not much out there for these guys. Like somebody like a Vontaze Burfict right now, I can't even see a team picking them up right now. There's no point. Why would you go?
But it's just crazy to me though, because they have the money. Like the NBA, they have these guaranteed contracts, and I'm not saying that the NFL should fully guarantee their contracts, but it's almost like highway robbery because they can just walk away technically from any player. Like if you're the best, if you're Pat Mahomes right now, and unless you get a fully guaranteed deal like Kirk Cousins, in 2 years they could be like, we're done, and you don't get any of that money. And you're playing a sport where you're gonna have way significantly more injuries than you would playing basketball. Now in basketball, even though they have some of these horrible deals that they sign, you got guys like Lou Deng, right? Lou Deng hasn't touched the court probably in 3 years, but he's still getting paid because they have the structure in place for them to pay him
I
that money over time. So they can stretch that money out over 20 years, which to the NFL that would be nothing. And again, I'm not saying that they should fully guarantee it, but like they got to get those guys some more security than they're giving them, especially
so
being like
owner,
that.
an
That's
owner
just
like
kind of
our
what you're
owner
doing.
isn't trying to pay nobody that's not currently on the roster. So that's never going to work. You're looking
Right.
at it to me from a player standpoint, which most fans do. But if I'm the owner of any company, I ain't trying to pay nobody that's not currently on my like plan. What am I
Right.
paying for? Yeah, that sounds good for a player, but not for me.
No, I'm just saying that's what the NBA has done in order to like make it so I don't have to pay you $5 million next year for a guy that's like not on my team. I just pay you
They
in
only got
installments
14
over
people.
20 years.
It's different for them. They only got 14 people that they got to pay, and a lot of them you could buy out of them their contracts like it's nothing. Like that's
But if they can do it for quarterbacks, like if they
you
can do
talking
it
about
for
a owner
Kirk
that got
Cousins,
53 people to play.
if they can do it for Kirk Cousins, where they're paying this guy what 30 million a year, they can't do that for somebody that's contract is $2 million a year. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like I can have 15 Kirk Cousins where I'm actually guaranteeing these guys their money versus just giving one guy $30 million guaranteed.
Show me
And
a
you're
show me another position besides quarterback where you could give me a comparison like that though. Because but see the value of a quarterback that is the team, and that's what Cincinnati Bengals fans. That's what I've been trying to spew. I've been trying to punch in people's heads for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback is the team. So if you're telling me that the quarterback is average or he needs other pieces around him and stuff, that never computes with me. The price is I mean, you could look at it like inflation or however you want to look at it. The price to do business for a quarterback is a totally different thing than any other position on any football team. So you cannot show me a Kirk example
But
to lead
this is my
the
thing
argument.
too.
You can't show me no other position where somebody's getting a shitload of guaranteed money like a Kirk Cousins or Sam Bradford or all these bum dudes because it's the quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, Chase Young, you are nothing. You will never be nothing in the NFL. And I want everybody to know that to the end of time. You will not be like these unicorn Tampa Bay Buccaneer teams that people think exist or whatever. They are no more. You need a quarterback, and you have to pay for them a lot of money.
But it's just crazy to me because you're the number one league in sports, and you're selling me on. You got other sports like Major League Baseball, the NBA, like everybody else's contracts are guaranteed. You can't even half guarantee it, and you make it, and like those leagues make peanuts compared to the NFL. Like just off of the TV deals
You know
themselves.
what this argument reminds me of? It's like the guy like you ever seen when Amigos donated like $5,000 to a high school
Yeah,
or something like it was like $5,000, right? But they're millionaires, right? But the guy was saying, why y'all only donate $5,000? Because it's not your money, right? So everybody's got an opinion when it's not your money.
they make the money though. Like those guys are the reason that they make money. Like we watch, like bro, if they took Joe Mixon, if they took Pat Mahomes, if we had replacement players, if they actually had a lockout and the NFL players had the balls to let them have replacement players, nobody would watch that. I'm not watching that. I don't want to watch bums
You
play.
watch the XFL, and that's replacement players to me.
Nah, I don't watch the XFL. I'm not. I can't speak for everybody
I
else.
watched
I'm
it
not
a little
watching.
bit. I didn't like it, but I watched it a little bit though.
I'm not watching the XFL. Like I barely watch
I want
college
to see
football,
Quentin Flowers.
and no shade to college football at all. But to me, college football was the most exciting when Reggie Bush was running it. That's one thing that me and Joe Burrow have in common. Reggie Bush was my favorite player to ever watch. Bill Murray said he got corona,
I
but
just saw that. I was like, man, hey,
to me, it's like that
I got
star. Like
corona.
man, I don't know. For me, it's like Lamar Jackson hits different. If Lamar Jackson was like, I'm not playing in the NFL tomorrow and I'm going to the XFL, I'd be watching the XFL. Like if Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson went to the XFL, I would watch it.
But see, you raise a good point. I want to get off this subject in a second because I did have a question I want to ask you.
Go ahead.
But the NBA and the MLB, they all raise these guys up in a system where they're kind of funneling them into the thought process of, hey, this is the way things are done. This is da da da. The NFL is much different in that aspect where when guys come out of college, like they just sign this contract. And if you've ever known anybody that plays in the league or anything like that, it's just a different dynamic. And they coach these guys up to say, hey, look, this is the way the older guys before us did it. This is how we do things and everything like that. And so people follow suit. The NFL is so much like the Wild Wild West when it comes to players because there's so many of them on one roster, and it's just so hard to get everybody to come together on one term. And I do understand what you're saying about your point that Pat Mahomes and all these guys could get together and rebel against the NFL, like the top tier guys. And that's one way that I think that it could work. But the other part of me feels that a lot of people, the average, I'm gonna just use a Steelers fan because they're trash and they never really have talent anyway. The average Steelers fan doesn't really know players. Like I know you're naming big time players and stuff like that.
Right.
The average Bengal fan, unless they subscribe to people like us and stuff like that, doesn't really know players either. Right. You know, because we don't have those big time mega stars that just play. Like we don't have Tom Brady's or whatever of the world.
Right.
The average Steeler fan knows Ben Roethlisberger, and that's it. Like if my mom was, I'm not going to finish in a sentence, but if my mom knows the Steelers, she knew Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger. Beyond that, she doesn't know. And I'm not saying my mom speaks for everybody, but the average fan doesn't know that. So if you take away the big superstars that you're saying, I don't think that changes the fact that everybody's tuning in to watch black and yellow, black and orange. I really don't. I think they'll still watch it the same way they watch the XFL. Because especially, you got to think about college football. You know good and well the way that college football, the way the boys get out of school so fast. That's what led me to not watch college football as much. So many players leave so early. It's like you don't really like you're saying Reggie Bush, and before then, like all the guys that I like the Ward Duns and the Peter Warks and all these different guys that I used to like, they stayed around so you could kind of grow with them and build with them. Every year, Alabama, there's whole new guys that I don't really know like that.
That's
Like,
what. Yeah. That's why I don't watch it though. Like for me, it's like.
so that's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think that will
But
work.
like Joe Burrow.
Uniforms. People don't like when people win these
Joe
games.
Burrow did not. He took over college football. Like it was Joe Burrow. Like if you didn't have Joe Burrow, is it the same? Like was college? Me and you watch college football because of Joe Burrow, and we don't even watch college football like that. Same with college basketball, Zion Williamson. I never like watched like I used to watch college basketball back in the day, but until the whole Zion spectacle, it was just like I gotta hear what everybody's talking about. And it was like the same with Joe Burrow. It was like whenever I make a video, Joe Burrow this, Joe Burrow that, well, I gotta see what Joe is talking about. So to me it's like you right, like you're gonna always have those people that's just like I'm gonna ride with whoever. But
Man,
but it's like for me as
a college fan gotta be like you cannot. No college fan can sit there and lie to me and say that they follow the players like that. Like you like because you like your team.
right. Yeah, I mean that's true.
I feel like we grow with the players. But my question to you, I'm sorry, I have to ask
Go
this
ahead.
because it ends pretty soon. I
Go
feel
ahead.
like we're way off topic. With the coronavirus, right, Ace? What do you feel like moving forward is? What do you see for upcoming for this NFL season?
I think it's in a tentative mode right now, just because we're kind of not gonna know where things are going. The thing about free agency is even though like they could use virtual conferences and stuff to meet with these agents and players and talk to them. I think the biggest issue is the physical, right? Because you got to be in person to actually take the physical. So I'm not sure what that plays in the process. I still love to see free agency because literally that's gonna be the only like sports news that we actually get, and the NFL can actually get by with taking advantage of that and using free agency as a talking point for all the sports because there's nothing to talk about right now. But I think that this affects the draft. I definitely think that it affects it. I think that they'll still have the draft probably in a specific location. I don't know if all of the draftees are going to have to attend it remotely. I don't know what their plan is for that. But I think that the draft will go by. But I think that you start to run into issues around the rookie mini camp, right? Like, what are the stipulations now? The NFL had, and this is why I wish Adam Silver was in control of the NFL. You see what they did, but now, what are the stipulations on how much a coach can contact them in the off season, being that we have a virus now? Like, it's not safe for people to kind of travel right now and meet in person. So the NFL is going to have to adjust that rule or adjust, the time allotted for coaches to be able to communicate to rookies and stuff because they have a rule where it's like considered tampering or something like that. Where I don't know if that's even the proper word, but it's like the coaches can only talk to players a selected amount of time. So I think that they're gonna have to adjust that. But hopefully this thing is cleared up by the start of the NFL season. I think if not, I think that they may delay the season maybe a month or two. But
Yeah, that's what my question is. Do you see the season starting on time?
it's hard to say, man, given that we don't know what's going on. I'm gonna say that I think that it does start on time. And I think that they're just waiting to see how things play out. And hopefully by then we would have developed some kind of cure or at least some kind of way to ensure that things are sanitary by then. But it's a really weird space to be in, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, there's a lot of businesses like that are gonna fold because of this. Like, there's people at my job right now just making sure like we don't have any products that come from overseas because you got a lot of these businesses just taking significant losses, and luckily the NFL is one where they're going to be stable. But you got to think about the guys that work in the offices. If you're in ticket sales, are you going to be able to sell tickets for this upcoming season? Those are some of the people we got to think about too. But for me, I'm just going to say a prayer, man, and I hope um, that they start on time. I'm hoping it because I don't know if I can not have the Bengals, bro. I don't know. That's gonna be crazy.
I don't think it starts on time. I just think it's a big ripple effect of there's so many moving parts that have to happen before a season even begins.
All right.
Now the CBA probably would complain that these guys aren't even prepared. Like it kind of reminds me. Remember how Zach was scrambling around to find his staff, whatever? You can't do that with like players and just random go into all these actions. Like, yeah, we got a draft on time on TV and different things like that. I just don't even know the setting that would even work right now. Like, I don't even see them putting them in a room with other NFL players. And you were making a thing about like at your job, like making sure products aren't coming from overseas and stuff. This is here, bro. Like here. Like this
No,
it's
but what I'm
here.
saying is, it's
You know what
constant.
I'm saying?
Like a lot.
It's
Like,
here.
say for instance, you have suppliers over in China, right? Like they're cutting off everything from there. So
Yeah,
if
for
like
sure.
that's
But
your
now that it's here,
right,
like that, I asked my wife earlier today. I said, "Do you feel comfortable just because I'm doing everything from a hand sanitizer standpoint and I'm doing everything correct, right? Do you feel comfortable that the person that's working at Wendy's, all right, so the coronavirus guy, hold up, this is a good question.
oh,
The
that's real. That's
coronavirus,
real.
the coronavirus guy came in to that Wendy's, that McDonald's, that 7-Eleven, whatever you got around your way, that grocery store, he came in there and he coughed on something. He coughed in the air, or like somebody said earlier, he's asymptomatic, where he wasn't showing any symptoms or anything like that. He came into that building, and the people that are working in there, we're now trusting them to handle everything perfectly just because we're cognizant of it. I don't trust that. And so now it makes me feel like, okay, the factories that are here, somebody get it there. Like, they're not handling like this. Now that it's here, there is no way to run from it, like in that standpoint. The only thing we could do is try to contain it. Like, I just don't, that's beyond me. Like, I'm one of the first people to try to educate myself, and I started looking at numbers, and I even posted something I had showed earlier, and I was gonna post the same thing, but just in 3 weeks, 1,000 people died in Italy from the disease. And that doesn't mean that much, because I could probably show you a stat just like that from the flu here. But the biggest difference is we don't know where it came from, and we don't currently have any vaccinations at all. It's not like you could just walk into patient first or whatever you got around you or a hospital and say, yeah, give me some Tamiflu. Like, that's not working. Yeah, I don't know if y'all seen the press conference with Trump was saying it is like, why don't we just take the same medicine that we just used for Ebola, or he said something like that. And he's like, why don't we just use that for Corona? And everybody's just looking at him like, are you serious? Like, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Y'all saw this too. Somebody else said something about it's election season, right?
Mm.
4 people that have contracted coronavirus have been in contact with Donald Trump. So for anybody that's saying that, or your parents told you that, I don't know how old that person was that said that. That's complete BS as well. And the spokesperson that I just saw on where was that on? Whatever, just said that. Oh yeah. Like, they don't have to test Trump because we know that he does. He's negative or whatever. I'm not 100% sure. He came in contact with 4 people in the last couple of weeks that haven't. So, and somebody said earlier, asymptomatic. Like, if they don't have to come in there coughing. I think that's the biggest thing in America. Like you're going somewhere right now, somebody coughing and sneezing, everybody's like,
It's
oh,
like, whoa,
everybody's like,
yeah,
oh shit. That's not the guy. That's not the guy that's gonna get you.
right. Nah, that's
You know
real.
how to
That's
close
real.
this thing out.
One
I
one
feel like this is
thing one thing I'll say just to end on a light note is wouldn't this happen when the Bengals are about to draft Joe Burrow?
for
Wouldn't
sure.
this
And
happen
it's,
when the Bengals are in a contract year with AJ Green trying to figure out what they're gonna do with it? Like I'm just gonna blame the Bengals, bruh. The Bengals invented the coronavirus. It's the Bengals' bad luck that
you know,
invented the
you know,
coronavirus.
I'm pissed because I was about to roll out the Burrow babies, like everything.
What are the chance? Like it was about to be in Vegas, the
Nobody wants
Bellagio.
to say, y'all. I have Burrow babies like apparel, like everything ready to go. I was so hype about unveiling it like last week, and then all of this stuff started hitting. I'm like, people don't
Mm,
know about that right now. Like,
right,
people want to make sure that they're safe. Like
right.
I'm sitting there looking at all of this stuff. Like that's why this whole pod that we're listening to. That if somebody came here listening to find out what free agents we're talking about or something, you need to wake up because right now free agency is not like the number one thing, and nobody's really motivated for that right there. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's really motivated for that, and if you're not paying attention and you're still in denial, here are some dedicated.
Oh, them. This is how heartless the NFL is. They cutting players while there's Corona stuff going on. I looked at Instagram today. It was like 3 or 4 players got cut. Cameron Wake was one of them. I don't know if Jonathan Joseph was one or not, but it was a couple of players. I'm like, damn. Even during Corona season, it's
Man, I'm telling you, look, these are two football guys. Me and Ace love sports, and I really backed up. I'm paying attention to all that stuff. I'll post it. Whatever. You don't follow my guy Ace's New Strike City. Of course, if you're right here watching on the YouTube, you know that's where we are. But keep up with. I'm still keep y'all up to date with all that stuff. But I'm letting you know right now. That's probably like one of the last things on my mind right now, and that's
and it
crazy
should
because
be. It should be for
I was
everybody.
hyped. I was hyped like a month ago, bro. I was hyped.
It's just crazy because like you just think about it from we never really thought that the entertainment world would get hit with something, right? Like how this is affecting the entertainment world. I know we're supposed to wrap up, but I just mean like the entertainers when it comes to rappers and stuff, they can't have concerts now. When it comes to
And
sports, you
that's how
can't
they
have
get
that.
paid these
People that
days.
shooting movies, Tom Hanks got the coronavirus now, like probably the biggest actor in Hollywood, him and his wife. Like show movies are getting pushed back. Like this is real, people. This is
Yeah,
real.
this is super real. So anybody, I mean, I see some people trolling in there. If you're listening to this podcast, you can't see the comments. Some people trolling, having fun, and that's cool. I'm with it too. I'm gonna still have fun with it because in my darkest moments, I'm always laugh. But at the end of the day, this is crazy. And
This is super crazy.
I can only way I can say this is a real live movie, and I don't know at what point y'all gonna stop playing, but this is real, and it's gonna affect your life for the rest of your life. Whether this thing they tell you in the media you believe is gone away and you gone back to regular scheduled programming, I'm not because I'm watching the patterns, and for them to close Disneyland and for them to close got every festival that millions and millions of dollars are left on the table every night. The March Madness is $1 billion thing. Just
That's why I'm taking this serious. Like
the
I
tournament
don't think it's an
alone. So if
overreaction.
y'all still screaming like this is election season, this is conspiracy, like nah, buddy. Let me tell you about America currently. It's run on all corporations. Google is America. Like Disney is America.
Right.
So if they're telling you that they're closing down and they're willing to move away from millions and millions of dollars, like you should be very concerned. I'm not saying be scared. I'm not saying panic, but you should be very concerned and very cautious.
Real
So
quick for everybody watching this, since y'all rocked out for 49 minutes, I'm gonna leave y'all with one jewel. If you can buy stock right now, buy it, especially that Disney stock. Disney stock right now is down to $91 a share. It's probably still going to drop. It was selling for $150 like 3 months ago or a month ago. So
Whew.
if you're trying to double up some money, make it up. Another gem that I'm gonna drop on y'all is I've got a lot of coworkers involved in the stock market. Another thing that they're buying up stock on right now is on the cruise lines. The cruise lines, I just was talking to my dad about this. One of the cruise lines, I think, is down to $9 a share. It was selling for $60 a share before that. So if you're trying to make some quick money and you banking on things getting back right, drop some of that cash on some of those stocks.
Speaking of cruises, right? If you're thinking that if you're Mister This is conspiracy, this is a joke guy, and you want to take a chance and you believe this is just going to blow over, guy, go look at some plane tickets right now. Them things are cheap as hell. So if you want to plan a trip later on this year, now's the time to do it. You can get you a flight to anywhere you want, super super low. But you gotta be one of those guys that just think like, hey, this is just gonna blow over. But I'm getting married in October, so I was looking at honeymoon stuff earlier. Like I'm like, damn,
Hey,
what end of this year, right? For like $100, you can go around the world. It's crazy. You can go anywhere.
you really can
Have
go
a great
anywhere.
night, everybody. Who they?
Have a good night. Who they?